The sirens wailed down Maplewood Street, shrill and urgent, slicing through the night like a blade. Firefighters leapt from the truck, hoses in hand, eyes locked on the hydrant only 20 feet away. Yet something was wrong. A shiny white SUV sat parked directly in front of it, blocking the only lifeline to the flames eating up the house across the street. "Whose car is this?" one firefighter bellowed, slamming his glove against the hood. Smoke poured into the air, black and suffocating, while neighbors screamed and pointed. And then, heels clicking on the asphalt, phone in hand, Karen strutted forward like she was the star of her own reality show. "Oh, that's mine," she said casually, like they'd asked about the weather. "And no, I'm not moving it. I live here. I pay taxes and I don't want my driveway blocked." What? Did she really just say that? While people's lives were in danger. The firefighter blinked, stunned. "Ma'am, we don't have time for this. Move your car or we'll break your windows and drag the hose through." Karen scoffed, tossing her blonde hair with a flick. "Go ahead. See if I don't sue the department. I know my rights." The crowd gasped. Someone shouted, "Lady, there are kids inside that house." Flames roared louder, crackling as the roof began to sag. A mother's scream split the night, her children trapped on the second floor. Silhouettes at the window, pounding and crying. The smell of burning plastic and wood mixed with the acrid sting of desperation. The firefighter's hands shook with fury. "We don't have time," he barked, signaling to his crew. With a crash, the axe shattered Karen's car windows. Hose snaked through the wreckage, water thundering toward the inferno. Karen shrieked, her voice sharp and shrill over the chaos. "Vandalism! You'll all regret this. I'll have you fired." She lunged, clutching at the firefighter's arm, nails digging in. And that's when the twist came. Police cruiser screeched onto the scene, lights flashing. Officers jumped out, one of them a tall, no-nonsense sergeant with eyes hard as steel. He scanned the hydrant, the SUV, the flames, then landed on Karen, who was still screeching like a banshee. "You," he said, pointing straight at her. "Step away from my firefighter. Now." Karen froze, indignant. "You're firefighter. He just destroyed my car. I'm the victim here. Arrest him." But the sergeant didn't budge. His voice was like gravel. "Lady, you're under arrest. Obstruction of emergency services. Step aside or I'll put you in cuffs right here." "What?" Karen gasped, staggering backward. The crowd erupted into cheers, neighbors yelling, "Finally! And lock her up." She tried to argue, her words tumbling out in a frantic, high-pitched stream. "This is discrimination. This is abuse of power. I'm calling my lawyer." "You can't." Click. The handcuffs snapped shut around her wrists. And then, just as the firefighters doused the flames and pulled two terrified children from the smoke-choked upstairs, the bitterest detail surfaced. Someone in the crowd whispered, "That house. It belongs to her ex-husband." A ripple went through the neighbors. Eyes turned on Karen, wide with disbelief. Had she? No, she wouldn't. Blocked the hydrant on purpose. Out of spite. The mother clutched her coughing kids, weeping, thanking the firefighters who saved them. And across the street, Karen thrashed in the sergeant's grip, screaming as her mascara streaked down her face. "It's my street. You don't understand. He deserved it. He deserved it." The crowd gasped. The twist wasn't just arrogance. It was vengeance. She hadn't parked there by accident. The officer's jaw tightened, his voice low but sharp. "Lady, you just confessed in front of 24 witnesses. I hope your lawyer's good. Because this isn't just obstruction anymore. It's criminal negligence. The firefighters didn't even look at her anymore. They were too busy saving lives. Too busy being heroes while she stood exposed, humiliated and shackled in her own neighborhood. And when the news van arrived, because of course it did, the cameras captured everything. The house still smoking in the background. The mother sobbing with her children. The firefighters covered in soot and sweat. And Karen, handcuffed, screaming at reporters to stop filming. Her downfall was instant. By morning, the video had gone viral. Headlines blared. Woman blocks firefighters from hydrant. Arrested as children nearly die. The Homeowners Association, once her little kingdom of control, held an emergency meeting. Karen had been their self-proclaimed queen, the enforcer of grass heights and mailbox colors. But now, they voted unanimously to remove her. A few even suggested suing her personally for bringing disgrace to the neighborhood. And yet, the bitterest twist wasn't even the arrest, or the shattered SUV, or the public humiliation. It came when her ex-husband showed up at the smoldering ruins of his home. He didn't scream, didn't curse, didn't even look at Karen. He just knelt, gathered his children in his arms and whispered, "You're safe now. You're safe." Karen, cuffed and wailing in the back of the cruiser, watched from behind the glass as her ex embraced the family she thought she'd ruined. For the first time, she realized she hadn't stopped him. She hadn't won. She'd destroyed herself. The officers drove her away, sirens echoing in the night she had tried to control. The neighborhood exhaled in relief, neighbors hugging, murmuring, some even clapping as the cruiser turned the corner. And the firetruck's hose still lay across the shards of her broken car window, water dripping like a final verdict. Her arrogance had met its match. Her cruelty had recoiled. And karma, swift, merciless, undeniable, had come knocking with sirens and steel. She thought she could outshout justice, outmaneuver duty, outplay compassion. But in the end, justice was louder. If you enjoyed this dramatic story of arrogance, karma and justice catching up with Karen, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit like, drop a comment and subscribe to the channel for more shocking homeowners association tales and real-life drama. It started with a bang literally. A knock so loud it rattled the front window, followed by the shrill voice of Karen from the HOA yelling, "Step outside. We need to talk about the suspicious deliveries you've been receiving." I blinked. Suspicious? What the hell was she talking about? I'd only lived in the neighborhood for 2 months, and already, Karen had found a way to inject herself into my life. The first time was about the color of my mailbox. Then it was my non-compliant flower pots. But this? Accusing me of getting dangerous packages? Excuse me? I stepped onto the porch, folding my arms. You want to run that by me again? Karen stood in the driveway with a clipboard in one hand and a smug smirk on her powdered face. She wore that usual beige power walker outfit like it was armor, with a plastic HOA badge clipped on like she was FBI. "I've seen the deliveries," she snapped. "Big boxes, unmarked, some with foreign writing. The HOA has a right to intervene if something looks illegal." I stared at her, trying to comprehend the level of delusion. "Those are electronics. I refurbish old tech for veterans. It's my job." Karen scoffed. "That's what criminals say. If you have nothing to hide, you won't mind if the HOA holds your packages for inspection." "Hold my what? You're not customs. You're not even a city official," I said, my voice rising. "You can't touch my mail." "Oh, honey," she said, tilting her head with mock concern. "I already did." My heart dropped. "You what?" She waved her hand. "Don't worry. The HOA is protecting the neighborhood. We've got the boxes locked up safe. Until further notice, your deliveries are suspended." You'll need to file a formal request if you want them released. I swear I almost blacked out from rage. For days, I tried calling the HOA office. No answer. Emails? Ignored. When I went in person, a sniveling part-time assistant said Karen had escalated the matter to their legal committee. What legal committee? This was my property. My name was on every receipt, every shipping label, and they had stolen at least 6 packages totaling over $3,000 in tech parts. I called the police. The officer shrugged. If it's inside the HOA's private office, it's technically a civil matter. So that's how it was gonna go? Fine. I had cameras. I had receipts. I had time. And you better believe I started digging. That's when I found something strange. One of the packages that had supposedly never arrived at my address had a delivery confirmation. I traced it. It had been dropped off a week ago. My door camera didn't capture anything. But across the street, Karen's garage camies. She was obsessed enough to put a camera facing her own driveway reflected something shiny that day. A box. My box. Being dragged inside her garage. Boom. I had her. I set up my own trap. Next shipment, I made sure it arrived while I was home. I stayed out of sight. Less than 30 minutes after delivery, I caught it. Karen creeping up to my porch like some desperate raccoon in yoga pants, looking left and right, then grabbing the sealed box and speed walking back across the street. Unreal. I uploaded the footage and called the cops again. This time, with video proof, they had to act. The knock on Karen's door came the next morning. I watched from my window as she opened the door, all faux innocence. But when the officer asked about the stolen packages, her expression twitched. Oh, 2 was just keeping them safe. Mind if we take a look inside? The officer asked. Do you have a warrant? She snapped, arms crossed. But she was cracking. Her voice had lost its edge. The officer smiled. Actually, yes. Turns out, I wasn't the only neighbor she'd targeted. They found 6 of my packages in her garage opened. Not only that, several of the items were listed online on resale sites, under a profile linked to her email. Oh, the audacity. One listing even had a photo of a tech part on her kitchen table, with the same wood grain and salt shaker in the background that matched her HOA newsletter videos. Karen stood there, sputtering like a wet cat. I didn't mean to sell those. 2 thought they were unclaimed. Unclaimed. I stepped forward. They had my name on them, my address, and you forged a signature on the delivery notice. That's when the officer turned, eyes sharp. You forged a delivery confirmation? Karen opened her mouth, then closed it. Too late. That added fraud to the list. When the official charges were filed, petty theft, mail tampering, and fraudulent resale, the neighborhood exploded. Karen? The same woman who screamed about lawn heights and issued fines for sidewalk chalk? Facing a lawsuit and criminal charges? People were stunned. Except Mrs. Holloway down the street, who whispered to me over tea. Honestly, I always thought she was running some kind of weird side hustle. You know, she fined me $50 for having a pumpkin on my porch in January. I laughed, bitterly. That's nothing. She sent me a violation for using a box fan in my garage. Said it was aesthetic. Now the HOA scrambled to distance themselves. Her actions do not reflect the values of this organization, they said in a mass email. Sure. But the twist? Karen filed a countersuit. Can you believe that? She claimed defamation, that I had harassed and recorded her without consent, that I maliciously edited footage to frame her. My lawyer nearly choked laughing. Let her try, he said. The evidence is stacked against her. Still, it dragged on. And when the deposition day came, Karen showed up in a neck brace and sunglasses, like she was auditioning for a soap opera. She claimed emotional trauma, community backlash, and me personal favorite fear for her safety due to viral TikToks. Girl, you stole my packages, then tried to sell them online. The judge was unimpressed. You used your position in the HOA to intercept personal property, he said flatly. You forged delivery confirmations and engaged in resale. That's not defamation. That's documented fraud. And just like that, her lawsuit was dismissed. But mine? Oh, mine was just heating up. The damages were real. Thousands in lost materials, legal fees, reputation hits. And I wasn't the only victim. 3 other neighbors came forward. Karen had built her petty empire on threats, fines, and stolen trust. But she forgot one thing. People document everything now. Phones, cameras, screenshots, resale listings with her dog in the background. You can't fight receipts. When the settlement hit, Karen's eyes glazed over. She had to pay restitution, relinquish her HOA position permanently, and publicly apologize in the next neighborhood meeting. I showed up early to get front row seats. She stood there at the podium, voice shaking. I made mistakes. I overstepped. I'm truly sorry for any misunderstanding. Couldn't resist. I raised my hand. Just to clarify, I said, smiling. Was it a misunderstanding when you forged my signature? Or when you listed my property on eBay? The silence was thick. Someone in the back chuckled. Karen's face turned crimson. Meeting adjourned, she whispered, and practically fled the room. Justice, baby. And the cherry on top. She now has a permanent mark on her record. Hope that resale side hustle was worth it, Karen. Karen moved out 2 weeks later. Quietly.
No goodie barbecue. No farewell flyers.
Just a U-Haul at 6 a.m. and a couple of broken flower pots left on the curb. Someone said her husband finally had enough of her HOA crusades and filed for separation. Others whispered she was moving to Florida to start fresh. Good riddance. The new family who moved in, lovely people. They brought cookies to every house on the block. Real ones. Not passive-aggressive sugar bombs wrapped in notes about parking violations. As for me, I got my money back. The court-ordered restitution came in pieces, but it came. I used some of it to upgrade my security system because, let's face it, the world is full of Karen Sand donated the rest to a local tech program for underprivileged teens. If Karen had actually looked inside one of those boxes instead of stealing them, she might have realized I was building laptops for kids without internet. Let that irony sink in. And the HOA, well, they're under new management, thanks to a vote that took all of 6 minutes. Turns out, once someone files a lawsuit against your president for mail fraud, people stop being afraid of your little clipboard. Every time I walk past the clubhouse now, someone gives me a nod, a wink, a hey, you really stood your ground. And I did, because people like Karen count on silence, on fear, on everyone else backing down. But not me. So if you ever find yourself staring down an HOA Karen with a god complex and a fake badge, remember this. Keep your receipts, document everything, and never underestimate the power of a well-timed lawsuit. And hit subscribe if you want more real stories where karma doesn't just knock, kicks the damn door in. The first time I saw them lurking near my fence, I had a bad feeling. But when the Karen sisters actually jumped into my backyard that night, I swear my heart stopped, then roared like thunder. Did they not see the massive red signs that screamed, FBI K-9 training zone NO trespassing? Or maybe they thought those warnings were just some cute garden decoration. Oh, they were about to find out the hard way. It was close to midnight, the air sticky with the kind of summer heat that makes every creak and rustle sound louder. I had just sat down with a cold beer, hoping for a moment of peace, when I heard that sharp metallic clank me fence gate rattling. At first, I thought it was a raccoon, but then I heard whispers. 2 voices, female, shrill with that nasal arrogance I recognized from the neighborhood's most infamous duo. The Karen sisters, Denise and Linda. These 2 had been a nightmare since they moved in 6 months ago. HOA meetings? They turned every single one into a courtroom drama. Garbage bins? They once called the city because mine were too close to the curb. And now they were in my backyard at night? Oh no, no, no. I slid open my back door quietly, and there they were, 2 figures in pastel pajamas, standing under the floodlight I'd installed for the K-9 training. Their mouths hung open as they looked around, like they had just discovered some forbidden paradise. I told you he's hiding something back here. One of them hissed. What normal guy has this much security lighting? He's probably running something illegal. Illegal? Me? I almost laughed out loud. I'm a retired federal K-9 trainer. This yard is my pride and my sanctuary. Every inch is designed for working dogs' obstacle courses, chew toys, and warning signs that even a half-awake toddler could understand. And the dogs? Oh, my boys were inside, but they were trained to respond to my cue. I put my hand on the sliding glass door handle and exhaled. You picked the wrong night, ladies. I opened the door and let out a sharp whistle. The sound cut through the still air, and within 2 seconds, the ground trembled. My 2 German shepherds, Max and Bravo, stormed out like living shadows, teeth glinting under the floodlight. The sisters froze. I swear Linda let out a squeak that sounded like a deflating balloon. What the hell? Denise shrieked, her voice breaking. Call them off. Call them off. Her hands flailed like she was swatting invisible flies. Call them off. I stepped onto the patio, my voice low and deliberate. You broke into my yard. Do you even know where you are? Their blank stares told me everything. This is federal property when my dogs are in training. You see that sign? I pointed to the giant metal warning plate on the fence. Denise glanced at it and scoffed. We thought that was fake. Nobody just has FBI dogs. Oh, the audacity. My blood boiled, but at the same time, I felt this wave of disbelief wash over me. How do you even argue with logic that twisted? I whistled again, and Max bark eat a deep, rolling sound that made Linda jump back so hard she tripped over the grass. She landed flat on her back with a thud that even the night crickets went quiet for. Ugh, my back, she howled. Denise turned to me with fire in her eyes. If your dogs touch us, we'll sue you. Sue me? I laughed loud, sharp, the kind that slices through nonsense. You sue me, I'll send this entire security cam footage to the FBI. Do you know what trespassing on a federal K-9 training zone means? Oh, I can promise you, you'll wish you never even owned a fence-jumping pair of sneakers. For a second, they went pale. Maybe it was the mention of the FBI. Maybe it was Max circling like a lion who'd just been handed 2 clueless zebras. I stepped closer, my boots crunching on the gravel. So, I said, voice calm but edged like a blade. Do you want to explain why you're in my yard at midnight? Denise crossed her arms, trying to fake courage. We thought you were building something illegal. People have been talking. You're always out here with those big dogs. Weird equipment, we thought. I don't know, you were hiding weapons or something. She actually said this with a straight face. My jaw clenched. You broke into my yard because you thought I was a criminal? That's rich. You know what's criminal? Trespassing. You're lucky I didn't call them off the leash. There was a moment of silence, tense, heavy until Linda started whining. Denise, let's just go. I think I twisted my ankle. She was limping toward the fence when I stopped her with a single word. Wait. They both froze again. I grabbed my phone from my pocket, the little red record button glowing. Smile. You're on camera. I've got everything, your faces, your voices, your stupidity all captured. The Karen sisters' faces twisted with outrage. You can't record us. Denise barked. Oh, the irony. I tilted my phone just enough so the screen caught the yard light glare. Honey, you're on my property. I can record you, handcuff you, or call the sheriff right now. You want me to do that? Denise's bravado cracked like thin ice. No, but you can't just shut it. I snapped, my patience wearing thin. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to climb back over that fence, and you're going to pray I don't forward this footage to my old colleagues. Because if I do, you'll be explaining this little midnight stunt to a federal judge. Linda was practically dragging her sister by the elbow now. They scrambled over the fence like a pair of angry raccoons, muttering curses under their breath. I didn't care. I stood there, Max and Bravo at my side, feeling that slow burn of adrenaline fade. I knew this wasn't over. Oh no, Karen sisters like them don't just slink away and stay quiet. I could already imagine them concocting some wild story about dangerous dogs or illegal operations to the HOA. And sure enough, the very next morning, I heard it. A sharp knock on my front door. I opened it to find the HOA president, looking pale and nervous, holding a clipboard like it might shield him from the storm brewing in his eyes. Mr. Tanner, we've received complaints that your, dogs were threatening neighbors last night. I blinked. You mean the neighbors who broke into my yard at midnight? The HOA president hesitated, glancing at his notes. Well, they said they were concerned about some, unusual activities here. My laughter cut him off mid-sentence. I walked back inside, grabbed my tablet, and pulled up the security footage. The video showed everything: Karen's sisters jumping the fence, screaming when the dogs barked, and trying to threaten me with lawsuits. I hit play, folded my arms, and watched the president's face go from confused to horrified. He let out a low whistle. Oh wow, that's not good for them. I leaned in, my voice a mix of exhaustion and fire. Not good? Is criminal trespassing. Do you want to know what the FBI thinks about people harassing a retired federal trainer on federal property? He shook his head quickly. Nope, I don't need to know. This is enough. We'll handle it. But the Karen sisters weren't done. That afternoon, I caught Denise standing on the sidewalk with her phone out, pointing at my yard like she was filming some kind of crime documentary. Linda stood beside her, hobbling with that fake limp, shouting something about dangerous animals. My patience snapped like a dry twig. I marched out, Max and Bravo trailing behind me, their ears pricked, eyes bright. Hey! I shouted across the lawn. If you think filming me is going to scare me, you're wrong. Want to see what real evidence looks like? Their faces paled when I held up my phone, the same video queued up, ready to go viral. Imagine this on social media, I said with a grin. 2 Karen sisters trespassing at midnight on federal training grounds. Think people will side with you or laugh you off the internet? The silence on their end was golden. By evening, my phone buzzed with a text from a buddy who still worked with the bureau. Saw the footage you sent, he wrote. If they keep harassing you, we can pull them in for questioning. That text was like music to my ears. The next day came like a storm waiting to break. I was sipping coffee on my porch when a black SUV rolled up, quiet but unmistakable. 2 agents stepped out wearing the kind of dark suits that make people sit up straight. Mr. Tanner? One of them said with a nod. We're here regarding the incident you reported. I didn't even need to speak, just showed them the footage again. The agents exchanged looks, their expressions a mix of disbelief and annoyance. These 2 women really climbed your fence? One asked. At midnight, I confirmed, and then tried to claim my dogs attacked them. Do you know they're already threatening a lawsuit? One of the agents chuckled. If anyone's filing a lawsuit, it should be you. What they did is trespassing on federal training grounds. We can scare them straight. And oh, did they. By lunchtime, I saw the Karen sisters' faces through my window mouths open. Eyes wide as the agents knocked on their door. Their pastel robes looked far less powerful when they were being read a list of legal consequences. Denise tried to argue, of course. I could hear her shrieking from my porch. This is harassment. I was just checking for illegal activity. The agent's voice was calm but cutting. Ma'am, the only illegal activity here is yours. You're lucky no K9 made contact with you, or you'd be facing far worse charges. Linda started crying, something about her ankle, but nobody cared. Their bravado melted faster than ice on a July sidewalk. That evening, the HOA president called me again, this time sounding almost apologetic. We've, decided to officially warn Denise and Linda. Honestly, if they keep this up, we might push for legal action ourselves. Your video made the rounds with the board. It's wow. I just smiled. Good, because if they try another stunt, I'll make sure the lawsuit they're so eager about hits them like a freight train. The following week, the Karen sisters were nowhere to be seen. Not at the HOA meetings. Not on the sidewalk. Their house lights stayed off after dusk, like they were hiding from their own humiliation. I almost felt sorry for them almost. But when you mess with trained K9 units, federal property, and a guy who spent 20 years dealing with high-pressure situations, you don't just walk away with a victory. You walk away with a permanent lesson carved into your ego. Every so often, I'd catch Max and Bravo sitting by the fence, ears perked, waiting for any sign of trouble. I'd pat their heads and whisper, "No one's dumb enough to jump this fence again." And I knew deep down that the sisters had learned the meaning of karma. The video? Oh, it's ready. If they ever come back, I'll release it, tag the FBI, and let the internet decide their fate. So, what do you think? Do the Karen sisters deserve a lawsuit? Or should I let them stew in silence? Hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel for more insane stories just like this one. It started with a scream. Not from me. From my youngest daughter, Maya, 7 years old, barely tall enough to reach the jacuzzi buttons, but old enough to know that something was deeply wrong. Mom, there's a lady in our tub. She's peeing in it. I nearly dropped the lemonade pitcher in my hands. I bolted out to the backyard, still in my house slippers, heart pounding, sun blazing, the scent of chlorine and jasmine swirling in the air. And there she was, Karen. HOA President Karen Davidson, standing knee-deep in our family jacuzzi, pants around her ankles, smug look on her sunburned face, eyes locked on me like I was the one trespassing. "Oh, don't look so shocked," she huffed, her voice nasal and shrill. "Maybe now your brats won't treat this yard like it's a public playground." I couldn't speak. My brain was still buffering. This grown woman, this elected HOA leader, had just urinated in a hot tub to discipline my kids? Are you insane? I finally snapped. You broke into my yard. You're trespassing. This is disgusting. There are cameras, Karen. Oh, boo-hoo, she scoffed, stepping out of the jacuzzi like she hadn't just committed felony-level crazy. Maybe if you followed the HOA noise curfew, I wouldn't have to take things into my own hands. Noise curfew? My kids had been playing mermaids in the shallow end, giggling and splashing. At 4 p.m. Not midnight. Not with loud music. Just laughter. That was her issue? I was still reeling when she yanked her pants back up, glared at me, and waddled back through the gate she had somehow unlocked from the outside. Oh, she knew our codes. Of course she did. HOA Karen had memorized the entire neighborhood's gate codes and keybox combinations for emergency purposes. That night, I sat at the dining table, jaw tight, staring at the incident footage. There she was, on camera, clambering over our fence like some middle-aged raccoon with an axe to grind. I showed it to my husband. He was speechless for a full minute before muttering, "We're suing her." No question. And I wanted to, but I'd already heard the horror stories. People who tried to go against the HOA here, harassed, fined into bankruptcy, locked out of community events, blocked from amenities, buried in fraudulent citations for code violations that didn't even exist. Karen had power, and she wielded it like a drunk judge with a vendetta. The next morning, we found a bright orange HOA violation notice taped to our front door. Violation: improper pool fence height.
$950 fine.
Due in 7 days. I blinked. Improper pool fence? That fence hasn't changed in 8 years. She's retaliating, my husband growled. She peed in our hot tub, and now she's trying to cover it up with paperwork. Classic forged citation play. I wanted to believe there was some HOA ethics board, someone to appeal to. But Karen was the board. President, secretary, treasurer, and unofficial enforcer. And most of the neighborhood was too scared or too complicit to push back. Still, something had to give. So I started documenting everything. Every weird noise. Every time her SUV sat idling across from our house for hours. Every single bogus notice. I even recorded her yelling at my son for breathing too loudly near her azaleas. What the hell even is aggressive breathing? It didn't take long before she escalated. 1 week later, our mailbox was padlocked shut. HOA Karen claimed we'd violated postal code decorum.
Postal.
Code. Decorum. She was deranged. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. One of Karen's ex-board members, an older gentleman named Bill, knocked on my door with a manila envelope in hand. He looked over his shoulder like he was being watched. "I shouldn't be doing this," he whispered, handing me the file. "But you need to see this. I quit the board 2 months ago." She didn't like that I asked questions, especially about her finances. Inside were pages of printed HOA budgets, strange expense reports, and checks written out to Karen herself. Thousands of dollars. "She's been paying herself for consulting fees," Bill said, lowering his voice. double-billing landscapers. And that new fence around the clubhouse? She had her cousin's company install it at triple the market rate. Total fraud. My jaw clenched. This is criminal. He nodded. I already tried to report it. County said it's a civil matter unless more people complain. I looked at the papers again, my hands shaking, adrenaline spiking. This wasn't just about a crazy lady peeing in our tub anymore. It was embezzlement. I contacted a lawyer the same day. We had the footage of her trespassing and defiling our property. Now we had a paper trail of alleged financial fraud. When I mentioned lawsuit, the lawyer leaned forward with sudden interest. Did she sign any of these checks herself? Yes. And forged community member approvals? She forged mine. I hissed. She listed me as approving a vote to resurface the community tennis court. I've never even touched a tennis racket. His eyes lit up. That's actionable. Let's play. We filed the suit 2 weeks later. But the real heat came when the lawsuit hit the HOA newsletter. Karen exploded. She knocked on my door at 6 a.m. in a fury, makeup half-smeared, bathrobe flapping like she was about to cast a curse. You want to go to war with me? You're going to regret this. You think you're the first. I calmly held up my phone. Recording. She froze. You really think you can bully everyone forever? I said quietly. Not this time. You messed with the wrong mother. That night someone egged our garage. A coincidence? Maybe. But then the community group chat which Karen used to moderate started buzzing. Quietly at first, then louder. A neighbor posted, "Just got fined $600 for a fence Karen approved last year. Something feels off." Another replied, "She charged us $1,200 for pool chairs that fell apart in 2 months. From her brother's company. What if she's been double-dealing this whole time?" The tide was turning. And Karen? She was cracking. Within days, things unraveled fast for Karen. She tried to rally the board, but 3 members resigned within 48 hours of the lawsuit becoming public. One of them even apologized to me in person, said he'd been bullied into silence for too long, and Karen had threatened to audit his lawn if he didn't comply. What does that even mean? Then came the press. A local news segment picked up the story. HOA president sued for breaking into yard, peeing in jacuzzi, and alleged embezzlement. Karen's mugshot from a past DUI mysteriously resurfaced online. Suddenly, the woman who once acted like queen of the cul-de-sac looked more like a neighborhood horror story. And justice? It moved faster than anyone expected. She was served a restraining order for trespassing and harassment. The civil lawsuit for fraud, forgery, and property defacement was gaining traction. And when the county began auditing the HOA's finances, oh, that was the cherry on top. Turns out, Karen hadn't just dipped her hand in the Tilst, built a whole side business using HOA funds, consulting fees, beautification bonuses, and thousands paid to her cousin for jobs never completed. The financial investigator used the word blatant. And the community, united. Parents came forward. Neighbors shared horror stories. Even the old man down the street who once defended Karen tooth and nail admitted she tried to fine him $300 for clapping too loudly at a 4th of July barbecue. By the time her trial date was set, Karen had gone quiet. Her house sat dark. Her Range Rover disappeared. No one saw her again for weeks. When the court ruled in our favor, the look on her face pale, lips twitching, eyes wet with rage wasn't victorious. It was small, pathetic. She muttered something about witch hunts as the judge listed off restitution, forced resignation, and mandatory repayment of HOA funds. She lost everything: her title, her grip on power, even her ridiculous control over garbage can placement. We replaced the jacuzzi. The kids splash in it again. No fear, no weird adult climbing the fence with a grudge. Peace feels earned. And me? I joined the new HOA board, unanimously voted in. First order of business? A keypad Karen doesn't know. Second, full financial transparency and a community picnic. Let this be a warning to anyone who thinks power means immunity, especially when lawsuits, cameras, and fed-up neighbors are involved. If you want more wild real-life drama and karmic takedowns, subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss the next neighborhood disaster.